What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, putting America first, second, and third. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome to our show. It is Monday, December 28th, 2020, start of the last week of the year, and that includes the broadcast week here at RBN, and I hope you all had a really good Christmas. Our Christmas plans kind of got derailed as several of our family members tested positive for COVID, so our Christmas and New Year plans have all been canceled here. But I want to thank everybody who sent Christmas cards and whatnot, and I want to share with you the coolest Christmas present that I received from a listener named Thomas. It was this big box full of all kinds of goodies here, and I'm just going to show a few of them to you. One of them was this duck call here, which I've been chasing Claire around the house with that. And then he sent me this wonderful little Frankenstein's mask, which I'm going to start wearing into places that say you must have a mask to enter, and a bag of coal on which is the note, for the boring callers who want to hear their voice and not added anything new to the discussion. And there was a lot of other things in there too, and it was really, really the coolest gift I got this year. So Thomas, thank you. There was a thank you note on the way to you as well. So what we're going to do is what we normally do. I'm going to do news until I run out of news. Then we're going to open up the phone lines for your comments, questions, opinions, and observations. Mike is in our control room taking care of business here. Obviously, the big news over the Christmas holiday was the bombing in Nashville, which appears to have targeted an AT&T building. There's a lot of similarities between this and the Oklahoma City bombing, in that the bomb was inside a truck, actually a motorhome in downtown Nashville. And according to the mayor, John Cooper, says it looks like it was targeting the AT&T facility. It's kind of interesting about that. Apparently, they've identified the bomber as Anthony Warner, 63 years old. They're saying that he basically died in the blast itself. They're claiming the motive was that he was paranoid about 5G technology, and that's why he targeted AT&T. Now, they're claiming they found his DNA at the location, and apparently Warner claimed he had cancer. He didn't have long to live, and began to give away his possessions weeks before the attack at AT&T. And I don't know, there's something weird about that. If I knew I was dying of cancer, I wouldn't be blowing up buildings. I'd be over in Nevada touring the whorehouses and just, going out with a bang, so to speak here. One of the really weird things that happened during the newscasts is that the mayor of Nashville was literally chuckling while talking about the Christmas explosion. And everybody's saying, what the heck was that all about? And so a lot of people, this being the age that we live in, they're already suspicious that there may have been something going on that we were not supposed to know about. According to one story that came out of ERBN, they're saying this Warner was a patsy. There were at least 2 separate explosions triggered at the same time. There's a video showing an explosion happening away from the recreational vehicle, and apparently the damage to the AT&T building doesn't actually line up with the location of the recreational vehicle here. Now, there's an article that is over in IgnatiusPlaza.com, Ignatius piazzafrontsite.com, saying that the Nashville bombing is more justification for President Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act. And apparently they're saying that there may be a connection to the massive election fraud we saw this year. And basically what's going on, there was a tweet since removed saying that the AT&T building in Nashville that was blown up was owned by Cerebus Capital. Now, the owners of Dominion Voting Systems are former executives from Cerebus. And over at InfoWars, they are reporting that AT&T had a contract to assist with the forensic audit of the Dominion voting machines, that there were Dominion voting machines on the premises which were removed by the FBI after the blast. And already we're starting to see all kinds of goofy stories out there about how there was a directed energy weapon or a missile attack, the same kind of muddy the water propaganda that we saw coming out of 9/11. And so, frankly, I'm very, very suspicious. And all of these so-called fact checkers are already out there trying to say, no, 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 there's no connection whatsoever between AT&T and Dominion. And with all the fact checkers denying it, to me, that's an indication that it quite possibly might be true. Now, getting on to the election fraud, again, more and more evidence continues to surface. Apparently, mathematician Bobby Python found 500,000 unique last names in Pennsylvania. Now, what he means by that is a last name that existed all by itself in the voter rolls. No parents, no spouses, no children, just a name seemingly added in that doesn't seem to have any familial relatives anywhere else in the state here. And that, again, is very, very suspicious here. Representative-elect Boebert, Lauren Boebert, Republican of Colorado, has officially announced she will join the House members who will object to the electors on January 6th. And apparently there's a lot of people who are getting ready to join with that attempt to simply say, no, we reject the electors because all of this was fraudulent here. The Amistad Project has filed a lawsuit to stop the Electoral College count until a full investigation of the election can be completed. And basically, the lawsuit is claiming the state legislatures of Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona were barred from exercising their power under the U.S. Constitution to confirm the presidential electors' votes cast on December 14th. The group maintains that several federal and state laws had unconstitutionally delegated the authority of state legislatures to approve these votes to the state executive branches. And we heard about this before, where the governors of these states sent their own electors to the Electoral College, and the legislative branches sent their electors, and the legislative electors were literally kept out of the counting locations, the voting locations, by armed guards. You know, I mean, talk about a coup d'etat. Apparently, two Republican lawmakers in Wisconsin, Representatives Jeff Mersow and David Steffen, have signed onto this Amistad lawsuit, basically trying to block the certification of the presidential electors. So this is still going on like crazy here. Now, Rudy Giuliani came out with a comment. This is from the Epoch Times. Basically saying that election-related lawsuits and similar matters are going to blow up after Christmas. Well, Rudy, it's after Christmas, and we are still waiting. And, you know, we're waiting to see something show up that would give us a reason not to go kinetic on this whole thing. Now, Donald Trump is calling for his supporters to gather in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. They're going to have a massive protest at the exact same time Congress convenes in a joint session to count the electoral votes. And so far, at least 11 members or members elected in the House of Representatives plan to object to the electoral votes. They have not received a commitment from any senator. Challenges require both a representative and a member of the upper chamber. And the objection wouldn't be upheld unless a majority of each chamber vote in favor of that. That is not likely to happen. Donald Trump released a video calling on his supporters to contact legislators to demand an honest election. And the video was entitled "Stop the Steal." Needless to say, it was viewed over 6 million times on Twitter. heard, I haven't checked myself, but I've heard it has now been pulled. Again, just the deep state is trying to protect itself. Now, last week, okay, Donald Trump indicated that he wanted Sidney Powell to be a special counsel to investigate the election fraud. And apparently Powell, in a December 23rd interview with Zenger News, said that senior White House aides are blocking her from communicating with Trump and blocking her efforts to assume a formal coordinating role in pursuing contest of election challenges on the president's behalf. So, I mean, you know, Trump is surrounded by enemies. His biggest strategic mistake coming into office in 2017 was he didn't scrape out that White House staff and put his own people in there, but he wanted to be magnanimous in victory, and he kept all these Obama holdovers, and they have been trying to sabotage him ever since, and they're doing it again. Now, the Supreme Court is still showing that they are cowards in this matter of election fraud because there is a lawsuit before them on voting irregularities in Pennsylvania. They can't reject it for lack of standing, but they have assigned the deadline for the response deadline from Pennsylvania for 2 days after the inauguration, at which point everyone will say, well, look, it's a done deal. Biden's president. You can't do anything about it now. And apparently Trump's lawyers have petitioned the court asking for a ruling by January 6th. They're not going to get it. The Supreme Court is completely compromised. All righty, another story. This one is coming out of Newsweek, no less, on how Donald Trump's martial law talk has put the military on red alert. Now, we had that prior statement from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs saying that the military were not going to get involved in this election, but until the end of January, Donald Trump is still the president, and he does have certain authorities over the military as commander-in-chief. And it's definitely being discussed whether he's going to do it or not. I don't know. I think it would probably be a mistake, but they don't listen to me anymore over there. All right. Last night, Trump finally signed the COVID relief package, and it was the original one there with the $600 per adult check. Trump basically caved on that, but apparently both Republicans and Democrats are pushing for a new vote today to up those $600 checks to $2,000. And that would, of course, help Americans, but not a whole heck of a lot. After 9 months of a lockdown, do you think $2,000 is going to correct the damage? It really isn't. And my recommendation to everybody listening to this show is go back over your last several years of tax returns and look at how much money the government has taken from you, and now they want to give you back $600 or maybe $2,000 and expect you to grovel in gratitude for it. I don't think so. Anyway, the House is going to vote on the $2,000 per adult today. They may have already done so. I have not heard what the results are over that. Now, Trump vetoed the National Defense Authorization Act last Wednesday, and Trump had threatened to veto the bill if Congress didn't use the legislation to repeal Section 230 of the 1996 Communications Decency Act, which is the law that protects online platforms from liability from content posted by users. Now, unfortunately, Congress does have a veto-proof majority voting for this bill, so this is more symbolic than anything else. Meanwhile, Roger Stone is filing a $25 million lawsuit against the Department of Justice, and his lawyers are filing complaints for prosecutorial misconduct against a number of key Department of Justice officials. And the lawsuit comes just days after he received a presidential pardon by Donald Trump. And he'd previously been granted clemency with his prison time, unpaid fine, and supervised release commuted. So the terms of the pardon allow him to sue the Department of Justice, Robert Mueller, James Comey, John Brennan, Rod Rosenstein, Jonathan Kravitz, Aaron Fat Blank Zelinsky, Jeannie Rhee, and Michael Morando. So he's going after them, and I hope he wins. I absolutely hope he wins after the way he was maltreated here. Now, a lot of people are looking at Trump's pardons. They're sort of cocking their head and scratching behind the ear and wondering what's going on here. There's an article that came on out of uns.com about how the pardons seem mostly focused on Jewish gangsters and murderous mercenaries, and none of the prisoners of conscience, meaning Julian Assange or Edward Snowden, have yet to be mentioned. And so they're wondering what's going on, but we may get a clue in this other story that is coming out of Middle East Eye, that a Jewish nonprofit organization played a significant role in Donald Trump's pardons and commutations, including those announced this week. This was actually reported by the New York Times. Now, the Aleph Institute, a nonprofit affiliated with the Chabad Lubavitch Hasidic movement, pushed for at least 5 of Trump's 24 pardons, including the 3 announced last Tuesday. Okay. The New York Times reported that Aleph also pushed for clemency for Philip S. Formes, once dubbed the king of Medicare fraud, who was charged in a $1.4 billion, with a B, fraud case. Okay. Another article, this one coming on out from The Hill. Joe Biden had to expect that, having stolen the election pretty much successfully at this point, that it was going to bring more attention and more heat onto Hunter Biden's activities, and he's trying to dodge it. And apparently he's still out there claiming this is all Russian disinformation, to the point where people are starting to laugh at him for it. Okay? And, that could wind up severely embarrassing. Or, somebody might be setting the stage for Biden to be impeached and to put Kamala Harris in to the Oval Office, which would not be a good thing either. All righty, another story, zerohedge.com, and basically talking about, end the great American myth, and the preferability of secession over revolution. Unfortunately, secession would lead to a war anyway, as it did in the last Civil War. It's an ugly time, and it does feel like something major is about to happen in this country. Over in Poland, and this is a good idea, and we need to have this here in this country, there's a new law set to be passed in Poland that would fine social media companies $2.2 million a pop for censoring lawful free speech. And under the provisions of this law, social media services will not be allowed to remove content or block accounts if the content on them does not break Polish law. Well, it looks like Poland is a lot more free than the United States of America. When you were young, did you ever think you were going to see that? And speaking of censorship, another article over here, this is from Reason.com. Suppressing speech on social media is driving users to the new platforms. You've probably already seen alternatives to YouTube are popping up all over the place. Alternatives to Facebook and to Twitter are taking off. They're getting huge audiences. Parlay.com is now my favorite social media site. These social media companies, they're going to lose a lot of money for playing politics with the big boys here, because we go to the internet to get the truth, not fed more of the same propaganda we get on corporate media. This is one of the reasons why the rulers, if you will, are so unhappy with the internet and independent media, because they want to go back to being able to lie you into agreement with their agenda without challenge. We got to take a break for commercials. Back with more news after these few words. Welcome back to our show here. And again, a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network is somewhere inside a perpetual fundraising drive. And we need your support going into the new year in order to keep doing what we're doing, which is speaking truth to power, trying to restore the Republic, opposing tyranny, and all those other bad things that seem to be dominating our lives these days. So once again, the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. And of course, all of this donation information is to be found at the top of republicbroadcasting.org. The network thanks you, and I thank you too. All right, let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. It's still out there, and a little personal anecdote to start off this section. I've been exposed to COVID again, and I kid you not, by my doctor. And I had a follow-up appointment on the situation I'm dealing with basically a week ago. And then 2 days later, my doctor started showing symptoms, and now she's down with COVID, so is her entire family. And the kicker here is, being a health professional, she got the vaccination for COVID-19. And so Claire and I got tested again yesterday. We're still waiting to get the results on that. We're not symptomatic yet, but we hope for the best here. But obviously a very tense situation there. All righty, now something that may be working in my favor right now. 4 researchers from the University of Florida Department of Biostatistics co-authored a study published online by the Journal of the American Medical Association. And basically what they found is no asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic spread. So when I was meeting with my doctor, she was not yet symptomatic. So maybe I'm off clear, but we'll find out when we get the results of the latest tests here. And the researchers confirmed that SARS-CoV-2 is more contagious than other coronaviruses, and listed all of the different rates out there. But they also confirmed the attack rate is higher to adult contacts compared to child contacts, and to spouses compared to other family members. So it's a little bit of reassuring news here that people that have COVID that are not showing symptoms are not contagious here. Another study has found no statistically significant link between gyms and the spread of COVID cases. Now, this has a bearing on the Attilis Gym in Belmar, New Jersey, which is currently facing over $1 million worth of fines. And hopefully this will have a bearing on their case. Okay, story coming on out of PJ Media, basically saying it's time for the CDC and the NCHS to clean up the COVID-19 death counts because the numbers are all over the place here. Corporate media will go with the elevated counts to increase the fear factor. But apparently the Freedom Foundation in Washington State has concluded that within that state, the number of deaths may have been inflated as much as 13%. Now, over in Minnesota, 2 of their state lawmakers, State Representative Mary Franson and State Senator Scott Jensen, have released a video saying that after reviewing thousands of death certificates in the state, 40% did not have COVID-19 as the underlying cause of death. And they're saying basically they're looking at people, if the virus is present in their body, they're being counted as a COVID case here. But she said in one case, a person who was ejected from a car during an accident was counted as a COVID death because the virus was in his system. Now, the CDC is issuing new guidelines and launches a probe after thousands of people have been negatively affected by the COVID-19 vaccinations. Back on the 18th, the number was already up to 3,150 people reporting what were termed as health impact events after getting the vaccine. And the CDC and Pfizer, which produces the vaccine with BioNTech, didn't respond to a request for comments. So again, there's something not really working with this fast-track vaccine. And I keep going back to that 1976 swine flu campaign with that mandatory vaccine that killed 50 times as many people as the flu itself did. And I hope we're not going into the same thing, but I'm looking at all the people who are coming down sick, and it's just something to worry about. Okay, we have to take another break for commercials. Back with more news after these two words. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about COVID-19 here, and apparently, according to this article in Global Research, the World Health Organization has changed the definition of herd immunity. Now, herd immunity is an important concept in medicine and epidemiology, and basically it's what happens when so many people in a community become immune to an infectious disease. It stops the disease from spreading, and it can happen in one of two ways. Many people contract the disease and in time build up an immune response to it. This is called natural immunity. And the second way is, of course, many people are vaccinated against the disease to achieve herd immunity. And apparently, the World Health Organization has dropped the natural immunity part of the definition and is now saying that the only way herd immunity can be achieved is through massive vaccination. They are pushing that so hard. They really, really are. And I'm just curious about what's inside that vaccine, and that is reinforced by this story from Blacklisted News. Apparently, down at the University of Miami, Dr. Ranjith Ramasamy, a reproductive urologist, basically has launched a study investigating the effects of COVID-19 vaccine on male fertility. Now, you're probably already aware there's been some concern about female fertility and the vaccine over in Great Britain, but apparently down at the University of Miami, they're concerned that the vaccine could result on a reduction of sperm and an impact on reproduction as well. So anyway, here, medical doctor, apparently Dr. James Meehan is warning that mask wearing has well-known risks that have been well studied, and they're not being studied or discussed in the risk analysis. He is reporting that bacterial pneumonias are on the rise from mask wearing. And apparently a group is suing Tulsa Mayor G.T. Bynum and Tulsa Health Department Executive Director Bruce Dart, saying the city's mask mandate is harmful to healthy people. And yeah, it's well known that bacterial pneumonia can be a problem wearing a mask on a constant basis here. Okay, over in China, apparently a Chinese court heard the case of 10 Hong Kong activists. Oh, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Never mind, that was not supposed to be there. Apparently, the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is causing swelling and inflammation in patients who have cosmetic facial fillers. So that's another one there. Now, there's a video that I posted to whatreallyhappened.com, and it has to do with the nurse down in Nashville. Boy, Nashville's just had their fill of it this last weekend here. She got the vaccine, and she developed Bell's palsy on one side of her face, which is going to take many months to heal, to go away. And she was just on the video showing what it did to her and saying she would not wish this on anybody. Meanwhile, over in Russia, apparently the Russian vaccine Sputnik 5 so far has not produced any allergic reactions out of 700,000 Russians who have already been vaccinated with it. Oh, they did something right here. Another story, this one is coming out of ivmedia.com. Apparently, ivermectin is proven to be effective curing COVID-19. Apparently, there was a meta-analysis of 28 different studies, and it said 100% of the studies report positive effects. Early treatment is more successful. Apparently, an estimated reduction of 87% in the effect measured using a random effects meta-analysis. And what it basically means is there is a cure for COVID-19. But of course, the big pharmaceuticals, the medical industrial complex don't want to cure COVID-19 because the big money is in selling vaccines to perfectly healthy people. And that's the new business model for medicine. Even Goldman Sachs said curing patients is a bad business model for the medical industry. You know, you want them sick. You want them to require constant recurring treatments here. All right, Professor Neil Ferguson, who's an epidemiologist, and he played a role in convincing the British government to adopt lockdowns, admitted that they're copying the lockdowns carried out by the Chinese Communist Party, which are modeled to strip civil liberties and exert authoritarian control over citizens. And in Ferguson's recent interview with The Times, he revealed that lockdowns he championed as part of Britain's Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies Board were rooted in those carried out by China. Now, Ferguson has been dubbed Professor Lockdown for his constant support of more lockdowns, and they're getting into Tier 4 over there in Great Britain right now. Now, right now, I think probably all of us are getting COVID burnout. And so they have to up the fear factor. And so all of a sudden we're getting these new COVIDs, these more contagious, more infectious COVIDs here. So Dr. Fauci is out there saying that they need to take a hard look at the variant of coronavirus that set off alarms in Great Britain. And Fauci is endorsing the decision of U.S. officials to require negative COVID-19 tests before letting people from Britain enter the United States. And just to getting on back to this whole thing about Great Britain wanting authoritarian control over the people. Apparently, Great Britain is planning a ban on unhealthy food and drink in order to combat obesity from people just sitting at home doing nothing. But that's their new grab for authority. And they're going to ban supermarkets from displaying unhealthy snacks and drinks at checkout areas, entrances, and at the end of aisles in the name of combating obesity. But basically what they're doing is they're telling the British people what they can and cannot eat. So it's another encroachment on civil liberties. You know, you can have my Twinkie when you pry it from my cold dead fingers. And there's another problem. Last week, there was a weird situation where there was a Russian scientist, Alexander Kagansky. He was working on a COVID-19 vaccine before he was stabbed and thrown from the window of his 14th floor apartment. And apparently, this is the latest in a growing list of researchers into COVID-19 who have died under mysterious circumstances. And this article lists 5 of them. And, you know, I mean, there are literally billions of dollars at stake on all of this. Pfizer and Moderna are expecting $32 billion with a B in profits this year alone from vaccine sales. And anybody who's out there with a competing vaccine, one that does not provoke bad reactions, one that can be manufactured and sold for far less money, is a threat to that $32 billion. And with that kind of money on the line, yeah, getting somebody whacked, it's just good business. What can I tell you here? Turning to the international news here, Russia is warning that increasing military activity near the Russian borders may have dangerous consequences. Now, this year has seen more NATO vessels and planes coming close to Russia. So speaking to the government newspaper Rossiyskaya Gazeta, Russia's Deputy Minister of Defense Alexander Fomin recalled some recent close calls, and we've reported on those, where there have been flybys, and basically accuses the U.S. and its allies of using aggressive rhetoric. We certainly know that that is true here. Now, Russia is also vowing retaliatory moves if the U.S. deploys missiles in Europe. And we've been down this road before. It was the deployment of nuclear missiles in Turkey that triggered the Cuba Missile Crisis. And a lot of people who talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis fail to leave out the fact that Russia was responding to U.S. placement of missiles near their borders. So again, Alexander Fomin is criticizing the U.S. refusal to extend the New START arms control treaty, as well as plans to deploy missiles in Europe, vowing to take proportionate retaliatory measures, which means they're going to start pointing missiles at us. Isn't that wonderful here? Over in Syria, actually over in Lebanon, hundreds of Syrian refugees fled their refugee camp in North Lebanon after their tents were set afire when fighting broke out between local youths and camp residents. At least 3 people were wounded in the clash. Down in Syria, the bread lines are growing, and it's saying a wider crisis in Syria. It's another nation that the United States has wrecked in their plans to conquer the world here. Apparently up in Bosnia, there was another refugee camp where some of the tents were burned there, and the people are just, they're freezing. Heavy snowfall has settled in, and, you know, it's terrible what's happening to these people in all these countries the U.S. government gets involved in here. Now, there's a little bit of good news if it lasts. Apparently, a new government has been sworn in Yemen following the Saudi-brokered power-sharing deal. Yemen's President Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi has sworn in the new government in response to this Saudi Arabia deal. And the 24-member cabinet was sworn in this last Saturday. Let's hope that it sticks. All righty, it was a very scary Christmas in Gaza. Apparently, there were Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, and they basically, Israel is claiming 2 rockets were fired from Gaza toward Israel. The claim is disputed, of course. And apparently Israel bombed a pediatric hospital in Gaza, hardly a military target. 1 child was injured. So apparently a very lucky situation there here. Now, the Israeli military is out there screaming warnings that Iran could attack Israel from inside Iraq or from inside Yemen. They are telegraphing a coming false flag with all of this propaganda about, you know, Iran is going to attack, Iran is going to attack. Iran has better sense than that. They know that Israel would respond, possibly with nuclear weapons. They know that the United States is just itching for an excuse to invade that country and wreck it the way they've done all these others. They want to get Iran enslaved to a private central bank. And Israel wants Iran removed as a regional rival. And as part of the ongoing wave of normalization agreements between Arab states and Israel, Israel is trying to lure Gulf countries into this deal, competing with Jordan and Palestinians to take over the important task. Meanwhile, they're trying to dismantle Turkish influence in Jerusalem for the benefit of the Gulf states. All righty. Now, the Trump administration is prodding Indonesia to recognize Israel with a promise of $2 billion in aid. And they're leveraging the development aid to have Indonesia, which is the world's largest Muslim majority nation, recognize Israel. And I don't know how well that's going to go over with the Indonesian people. I don't know how well that's going to go over with the American taxpayers. $2 billion while Congress is nattering and gromishing whether we're going to get $600 or $2,000 in coronavirus relief. So it's not really looking very good. The French newspaper Le Monde is reporting that Israel and the United Arab Emirates are working together to try and shut down the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees. Now, this agency was established in 1949 to provide relief and development services to Palestinian refugees expelled by Israeli forces from their homeland during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. It is the only UN agency dedicated to helping refugees from a specific conflict. And apparently Israel wants the agency to be dissolved because its mere existence draws continued attention to the displacement and hardship of Palestinian refugees. Now, you need to remember that Israel's membership at the United Nations was conditional on a Palestinian right of return to their homes, which Israel has never lived up to, needless to say here. All righty, getting into the economic news here. Boeing is not doing very well. Its reputation has been tarnished by problems with the 737 MAX and the Dreamliner. And the commercial jet industry is shrinking because of a lack of travelers. Commercial jet businesses is off, and they're hoping 2021 will be better. I think we're all hoping 2021 is going to be better. It could hardly be any worse here. And again, getting back to COVID, many New Jersey restaurants are on the brink of closing permanently because of COVID-19. Meanwhile, U.S. mortgage rates fall to a 16th record low of the year ahead of the holidays. Okay. Up in Chicago, boy, isn't it just great that Chicago has such strict gun laws because apparently over the holiday weekend, 7 people were murdered, 27 were shot. It's great that they've got gun control where the law-abiding citizens can't shoot back. And so it's just ugly. Now, a little bit of good news out there. A gun owner with a concealed carry permit shot and killed an armed robbery suspect at a Chicago cell phone store Saturday night. And it's not really clear whether the 29-year-old was the business owner, an employee, or a customer. But apparently the gun owner shot the armed suspect at least 2 times. According to the police, the suspect was transported to a local hospital where he subsequently died. This is also in Chicago, so a little bit of bright news there. Okay, we got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back after these few words. And welcome back to our show here. We're going to go ahead and open the phone lines now. Area code 512-248-8252. Pardon me, getting on back to the news here. It is just getting silly out there in woke land here. Apparently, a British film censor is slamming the iconic movie Flash Gordon, saying that Ming the Merciless, played by Max von Sydow, is a discriminatory stereotype and offensive for being played by a white actor. And it has now put a warning on the 1980s movie. This is really ridiculous. There is apparently a move in Hollywood right now to say that gay characters should only be played by gay actors. Well, the inverse of that would be obvious, that straight characters can only be played by straight actors, which is going to be a problem for people like Tom Cruise and Tom Selleck here. Okay, we've got a caller on the line, Kelly in Austin. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey there. I got on YouTube earlier today and found a press conference held yesterday in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to read the translations at the bottom. Obviously, I don't speak Ukrainian. But the 2 prosecutors detailed, they went into great detail about how the money was laundered to get to Biden. and how Biden and Poroshenko were having a bromance. But what they showed very clearly was how Burisma took money and then they funneled it down to offshore dummy corporations that then fed money back up into this lobbying firm that was owned by Hunter Biden, and at which Joe Biden was clearly mentioned in correspondence. Now, I understand that some people in the State Department here are absolutely about ready to wet their pants over this because they're scared.
Okay.
If this thing really gets out into the MSM, Biden's going to have a very hard time explaining all this.
Yes, he certainly will here. The reason I did not run that video is I'm trying to find somebody who actually speaks Ukraine to validate that the translation is correct. Right now the corporate media and the government are trying their best to embarrass independent media and the internet. And they're laying all kinds of traps for us right now. And the fact that this video has not been taken down, to me is suspicious. But as soon as I can find somebody who speaks Ukrainian, I will validate the translation, and then it will go up.
Well, I'd like that. I'd like to have some validation for that too, but I have no reason to suspect that the translations were not accurate. The other thing I want to tell you is that I've been thinking about how the United States just pushes its weight around.
Yes.
This country is transmogrified into a military monster.
Yes.
That $750 billion defense budget has really got to be slashed in half, if not even smaller than that.
Just 3% of that budget would end starvation on the entire planet here. Kelly, stay on the line. I'm going to put you on hold.
Yeah.
Got to take a break for station identification, and we will be right back. Welcome back to our show. Hour number 2. The phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252. We're talking with Kelly in Austin. And Kelly, just kind of pick up where you left off.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I was the United States is just pushing its weight around like an out of control beast.
Yes.
And as I thought about that today, I dug around and I remember the old song "Monster" by Steppenwolf.
Yes.
I played it a couple of times today, and I thought if ever there was a song that is relevant to what we have going on with the American military today and American politicians, it is that. Monster. I recommend you look at it. The last thing I want to tell you as well is that as I watch this growing rage over these lockdowns, the demands that people stand in line obediently to receive their vaccines, and they shut down their businesses, they accept unemployment and bankruptcy. I think I see this anger spilling over, and I think that the people who are pushing this are really playing with fire.
Yes.
I've talked about revolution and civil war before, but I really think we're there. You can see videos now of people who are just saying hell no, and they're running into confrontations with police. So again, I thought about another song, a song of revolution, and that was Thunderclap Newman's song "Something in the Air." And as I see these videos of people just standing up to the police and telling other people no, or getting into conflicts with authorities, that song actually means something to me. And for those who are not familiar with it, which is a theme from the movie The Strawberry Statement, might want to listen to it. You can find it on YouTube. It's a good song. It's an appropriate song. I think if you paired it up with Monster, you'll have two good songs about what's wrong with this country and about the potential for revolution.
Yeah. No, I'm seeing it all over the place here. There was a video that we posted to what really happened, where they say people are ready to take up arms.
Did you see the video of the lady who was in a store? I think it looked like a drugstore, and she told them, "Hell no, I'm tired of masks. I'm not wearing them anymore. I've had it." There's another video of a restaurant owner in California who blocked off the health inspector's car.
Yeah, I saw that one.
He couldn't get in or out. Yeah. And these damn police they're oblivious to what the man is saying. You're preventing me and my people from working. He works. You're getting paid. They're getting paid. We're not. And that anger is going to spread rapidly across the country as people see more and more of the hypocrisy that the elites, the hypocrisy emanating from the elites. And I think, again, that the people who are pushing this are playing with fire. So I really wouldn't be surprised if one day you start seeing people start breaking things and burning down government buildings. The frustration is really building up to any anger.
Yes.
So anyway, I've said what I have to say, Mike. I'm curious to see what other people have to say today. So thanks for taking the call.
You got it. Thank you, and have a happy New Year. We're going to switch over to Randy in Missouri. Hello, Randy. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in with some observations about the Nashville bombing.
Yes.
And there was a video with an interview with the local media of a kind of an eyewitness, somebody that lived right there where the bombing took place. They lived across the street in an apartment building. They were woke up early in the morning, just before 5:30, and with shots being heard. Then they picked up on the recording that was taking place with the warning that was supposedly coming from the RV that was parked outside, which is allegedly what was holding the bomb. And police were called. They showed up on the scene within 15 minutes, and shortly after that, they were closing off the area after they had approached the RV and put up a perimeter and were evacuating people from the local buildings. I guess no approach was taken as to try to ascertain whether someone was in the RV or whether it was a hoax or not. I don't know, but they were taking it seriously. But these people reported that they took off and left, and I guess the countdown would have given them about an hour, and when there was no bomb that occurred, they started driving back home, and then they heard the explosion. So it took about an hour and 15 minutes for all that to occur. So hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. So somewhere around 5.
So where was the bomb squad?
5:20 a.m. Right. So the point being is, if somebody was intending on hurting somebody, if they were intending on taking out human life, first of all, they would have never picked a date when nobody's around on a holiday. Second of all, they wouldn't have warned anybody. So what was the intending target? Apparently it wasn't to take out human life. Apparently it wasn't to blow up people. Apparently it was to blow up a building, a targeted building.
Yes.
So what was the object of the bombing then? What was the person's objective, if it was a person? So
well,
unlike most
the blast damaged the AT&T building. The official story is that the guy was paranoid and afraid of 5G. The other story that's circulating around is that AT&T center was part of a forensic audit of the Dominion voting machines. And, this was a Hail Mary pass to try and prevent that audit from happening.
Now it's also been reported that a facility up in Rochester, New York, that was had something to do with a ballot printing that took place. I don't know if they were involved with the truck that was supposedly had shipped a bunch of ballots into Pennsylvania from that UPS driver. Or I don't know if that's the same facility, but apparently that burned down.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I think that's kind of interesting that you have the two incidents related to the election. So,
yep.
Anyway, just some observations.
All right. Well, thank you for the call. Have a happy New Year. And we're going to switch over to Mark in North Carolina. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, how you doing, Mike? Mike, just two things. One is what you're going through now with your doctor and all that.
Yeah.
I would not take the test. I wouldn't take any of these tests. I pass by some of these test centers sometimes and say, "You got the wrong guy, man. Not me." And even smile, because these tests are totally unscientific. There's nothing accurate about them. And basically, I'm believing more and more that COVID is a cold. It's a cold. You're taking advantage of it. Maybe a mutated form of the cold. I'm not sure. But it's certainly not the horror that it's made out to be, except for maybe some people who are very, very sick, really serious underlying conditions. And as far as your doctor goes, you say the doctor took the vaccine, right?
Yes.
Well, there you go. Not even impossible that the vaccine gave you the COVID. Is it him or her?
Her.
Him or her. Not even possible that the vaccine gave her the COVID. Just
Yes,
like the flu.
possible.
The flu vaccine. A lot of people get the flu from the flu vaccine. This is a poison vaccine. It must be avoided at all costs. We got to stop with the testing, too. I don't, like I said, I don't take my cell phone anywhere I go, anytime I go inside, any place. Stores, restaurants, whatever. Because I don't want to be traced. I don't want to be tracked, and I don't want to be tested. I don't trust those tests anyway. They may be putting something in those, what do you call them, that stuff they push up your nose. We don't even know that.
Yep.
It seems to me like all these, these vaccine companies are playing evil. Pfizer, I've known for years as an evil company. I didn't even know about Moderna. I didn't even know who they were. But from what I understand, it's just as bad. Okay? A lot of the drugs, a lot of the people that are addicted to the, what do you call those, what do you call those drugs people get addicted to now?
What do you mean, the opiates?
The opiates, yeah.
Okay.
Pfizer's behind a lot of that. And the other thing is you can't even sue these companies because of that 1986 Act. So I do believe people should get together and start suing them anyway. Okay? Let the case go into the courts, even up to the Supreme Court, because I think that was an unconstitutional act that they pulled. There is no basis for saying a pharmaceutical company cannot be sued for their vaccines. They can be sued for other things, but not for their vaccines. And people get sued for everything. Okay? You put out a product, you're liable for it. You put out a dirty product, you're liable for it. Okay? Just like you put out of a car that, defective and all that. You're liable for it. That's the way it should be. And anybody who takes this vaccine to me is a complete idiot. Okay? I'm trying very badly, my members of my own family, to tell them, do not trust. And my sons are way more educated than I am. Both of them graduated college. Okay? And I tried to tell them, don't take the vaccine, but they seem to trust the FDA. The FDA is crooked. I keep telling them. My little grandkids, I don't want them vaccinated. I don't want anybody vaccinated. This stuff is poison. And that brings me to one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, and that's with this thing with Iran.
Yeah.
Israel is out of control. They should be given a warning that we're not going to back them up for anything, no matter who's the president. So Trump, that's another thing. Two things Trump's really got me pissed off. And I don't care what, the three amigos that call in say. The fact of the matter is that Israel is a dangerous country, and Trump seems to do everything they want. And that pisses me off. And the other thing that pisses me off is him pushing this horrible vaccine. Now, again, I'm hoping that at the end of all of this, he'll still be president because of how horrible Biden and Harris have been. But that just shows me how horrible they are, because I certainly don't think Trump is a good president. I mean, he's done a lot of bad things. He caters to the Zionists. He puts the wrong people in his cabinet and in his administration. He's got Goldman Sachs, all kinds of scum in there. The guy, and then he's got the deep state actors in there also, the worst types. He's still got Pompeo. He should have gotten rid of Pompeo a long time ago. Yes. It's lucky we didn't get into a war yet. It's only through luck. It's not through Trump avoiding it. Basically through luck that we did. We haven't gotten into another heavy ground war. So that's Yeah, Mike, like I said, I don't understand this worshiping of Trump. I just don't. I still don't. Yeah, I voted for him because what other choice did I have? Because the other choice is so bad. At least he's for gun rights and he's against abortion. At least he says he is.
Mm-hmm.
And two other things. And he did nullify that TPP trade agreement. He did something with NAFTA. I'm not so sure it was really that good. But, at least he stands for some kind of, America first. But that should be America first, taking care of our own problems in this country and getting out of all these foreign countries. I don't even know why we have troops anywhere in the world, other than the United States of America, to defend this country. So, like I said, a lot of things wrong with Trump. But at the same time, right now, he's the only horse we got.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a shame. It really is a shame. So I make no apologies, my three amigos, okay? No apologies at all for my criticism of Trump. I don't think he's a good president. I really don't. I know you don't like me saying that, but that's the way it is.
No,
okay?
I'll be the first one to admit Trump has been a tremendous disappointment. I mean, I supported him in 2016 because I didn't want Hillary in the White House, and I supported him in 2020 because I didn't want Biden in the White House. But unfortunately, the election riggers have overturned the will of the people, and we're going to get Biden and possibly Harris as the next president.
Well, I'm still not so sure what's going to happen there, but I'm mostly grim. When I say the three amigos, you know the people I'm talking about, the three they call Florida, Maine, and Tennessee. Okay, that's what I mean by the three amigos. And one guy never calls, as far as I know, this guy up in Alaska, who giving me, quoting a bunch of nonsense to me on a chat, so I finally had to block it. All right, so. Mostly a bunch of religious, crazy religious stuff, that's end times nonsense. It all should end in the Middle East, and that's what worries me with a guy like Pompeo in there, All right, Mike. So that's about it. Okay. I know you got other callers on line. So.
All right. Thanks an awful lot here. And have a happy new year. And we do have phone lines open right now, area code 512-248-8252. And we're going to go to Laura in Michigan. Hello, Laura. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
I wanted to tell you about a Supreme Court ruling. In 1997, the Supreme Court ruled that a presidential election is a federal election. And federal elections end at midnight on the day of the election. Mm-hmm. Now, you can find this at DV Kids' article at newswithviews.com. She's even got links to the actual hearing. So midnight, that means nothing was counted. That should be counted after midnight. As we know, at midnight, Donald Trump was won. And that's when all the votes all came in later after midnight.
Yes.
This should settle it. So anyway, they sent this all to the law clerks because, as you know, the law clerks are the ones who decide what gets to be heard before the Supreme Court. And they've had it for 3 weeks and have not assigned it a docket number yet.
Right.
We need to put pressure on them to get that docket number because that will settle everything. Because that was a unanimous vote. Midnight. On election day, you're done on federal elections.
Yes. States
can decide different rules. And I know school elections decide their own rules, that type of thing. So I think everybody needs to look that up. And as I said, DV Kid has the links to it.
Okay.
So, and the last thing I want to ask everybody, do they feel like I do? I think that January 6th, Michael Pence is going to betray Trump.
Yes, I agree.
And not call Trump as president. I really have that feeling because he's leaving right away for Israel and Bahrain, probably to grab a bag of money,
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that he's going to betray Trump. So I'm not counting on that. We got to still work at other things before the Pence gets to decide. But I'd like to know if other people feel the same way about Pence.
Well, I agree. I think he's going to stab Trump in the back, and it's politics is a dirty business. What can I tell you?
Well, I'll tell you what. If he does, he's going to have to go to the Democratic Party because his name's going to be mud. For anybody else, his political career would be over with at that point, unless he goes in with the Democrats.
Well, he may have been promised a very cushy position within the party.
Oh, yeah, I could, yeah. So, okay, that's it. I just wanted to let everybody know about that 1997 ruling, because I think that's what needs to be enforced.
I would agree with you on that one. Now, the midnight ruling says that votes cannot be accepted after midnight, but of course the counting can continue after that. But obviously all those ballot dumps, at 3 o'clock in the morning and everything, would be illegal under that Supreme Court ruling.
That's right. That's right. Okay, thank you for taking my call.
All right, you're welcome. Have a happy new year. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome back to the show. What's on your mind today? Oh, wait a minute, Tom. Got to take a break. Stay on the line. Be right back. Welcome back to the show here. We're going to go to the phones to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, Mike. Good day to you. Aloha. Yeah, Mike, to your caller in North Carolina, here he goes again, bashing and crashing on Trump. Okay, we already know the routine, and he's telling people how they got to better not wear masks, and they better not take the vaccine. Hey, look, everybody's individual. If they want to wear the mask, so be it. The guy in Jersey wants to wear a mask. Hey, you're not going to stop him from doing it, so he's going to do it. Yeah, you're not going to stop nobody from taking the vaccine. So let's get that clear. But here, Mike, here's what I wanted to call you about. The guy from Carolina, he's getting like obsolete to me. But here's what I want to talk to you, Mike. Did you have a chance to see Newsmax last night?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, let me give it to you in your audience, Mike. They had 4 hours of John F. Kennedy's personal tapes. And Kennedy's dad Joe Kennedy looks just like Joe Biden. If you look at the tapes right now, when Joe Biden and Kennedy's dad were in their 70s, they almost look like twins. Joe Biden and Joe Kennedy look like twins, okay? Mm-hmm. They're both Irish, and they're dirty Irish, okay? Kennedy was a bootlegger, made all his money. But if you look at what they had is explosive. What Newsmax had, it should be on every major network. Every kid in high school should learn about what Kennedy was trying to pull. Kennedy was sleeping around with so many broads, it was ridiculous, okay? Mm-hmm. The guy was going to be, J. Edgar Hoover was going to pop him in 1964 if he would have ran again for president. When Oswald took him down, or whoever did, took him down in Dallas, there was so much dirt on Kennedy, it was unbelievable. It was unprecedented. I mean, Bill Clinton doesn't have nothing on Kennedy. He wanted to emulate him, but he was nothing even close to Kennedy. And if you watch the Newsmax documentary on John F. Kennedy, and he had a beautiful wife, by the way, Jacqueline Kennedy. She was a very beautiful woman, but he wasn't satisfied with her. He was lusting over women left and right. It was insane. It was insane what Hoover had on him. And the FBI, the same thing was going on right now today, Mike. What's going on with bumbling Biden, the crap they have in Hunter Biden. This guy's going to be commander-in-chief of the Allied forces. I mean, the United States forces, and his son's been booted out of the military in a dishonorable discharge for crack cocaine addiction and crack. It's absurd. It's absurd that the American public, he shouldn't even be in the law to even run for president with his son under this kind of situation for being kicked out of the military alone. His son is being a dishonorable discharge member of the military. But now this guy's going to be the president of the United States, and you have Kamala Harris, who was sleeping with 4 men in a 2-year period before she married this schmuck in San Francisco. She was with Willie Brown, Montel Williams, 2 other guys, Afro-American men, and now she's with this guy. She married this guy. It's unbelievable what we got running our government. What's running our government? But, getting back to the Newsmax situation, then, they went into they started going in 4 hours later, they started talking about, when they were talking about Marilyn Monroe was a big-time communist. She was in Mexico City. She was a big, and Joe McCarthy was 100% right about Hollywood. That guy's irrefutable. He was not lying. Joe McCarthy was not lying, Mike. Newsmax proved it. The The mainstream media will never tell you that because they're all Bolsheviks. They're all in bed for the Bolshevik Party. The Chinese, Mike, 78,000 Chinese went from California, New York, into Georgia in a 4-year period to turn that state blue. They proved that if those 78,000 Chinese wasn't in that state, Donald Trump would have won that electoral college vote there. The same thing they're doing in Michigan. There's a lot of Chinese moving into Michigan from California to New York. They're buying up all those houses. You can buy a house in Detroit for $3,000. They were Category 5 homes. I guess back in the 30s, Mike, those houses could withstand a Category 5 tornado, a lot of them. Believe it or not. They were built like brick, you know what, houses. But what's going on is they're destroying the white Northern Europe culture of race here. They want to wipe us out. There's no question about it. Every city you look at. Look at Chicago, Mike. How much was the murder rate in Chicago now, you know? It's over 900. It's over 910 murders in the city of Chicago alone for the year.
Yeah.
3,900 wounded in one city. That's worse than Vietnam. That's worse than Vietnam, Mike. That's Vietnam numbers, man. In a 10-year period, you add it up. It's insane what's going on in this country. But getting back to Newsmax, it was so explosive seeing about Kennedy. You know, Mike, since 1940, they were taking home movies, the Kennedy family. From 1940, they have all the footage. And the Kennedys, the crap they got away with, these elitists, Kennedys and all these other New England elitists got away with, is disgusting, Mike. It absolutely is disgusting. But you know what I noticed they did? The Democrats are really good at? They went after the little kids. They had all these kids at these parties, these Democrats, because they know those kids are going to be future voters. The college campuses, exactly what they're doing here now. They're getting all these 14, 15-year-old kids to say how bad Trump is and how great Joe Biden is. The same guy that called the President of the United States on stage a clown, he called him a clown. It comes with a punch him in his face. He should have jumped the stage and said, "You ain't calling me a clown, you bumbling buffoon." But Donald Trump right there was showing weakness when he allowed this guy, who wasn't the president, vice president, telling the president that he's a clown, right? And that's what people watched that night. It was absurd. Yep. And I even said it right there. I told my wife, "That's bullcrap, that this guy Biden's getting away with that." And the media doesn't say a damn word about it. If it would have been Trump calling him a clown,
was on Biden's side. Anyway, Tom, sorry, we got to take another break for commercials. Thank you for the phone call. Have a happy new year. We'll be back with more phone calls after these few words. Here. And we have phone lines open right now, area code 512-248-8252. And I've got a note here from our control room. Apparently, people are mailing stuff to Republic Broadcasting to forward to me. But if you go to the donations page at whatreallyhappened.com, you will find my post office box here in Santa Claus, Indiana, and that will take a little bit of workload off of our already overworked RBN staff here. So we're going to go back to the phones here to Joe in California. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. I got in a little late. You were discussing a drug that is successful in treating COVID. Was that HCQ?
No, that was Invectra something.
Ivermectin.
Ivermectin, that's it. Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did. I've been reading from the Peak Prosperity website. Chris Martinson, has also been speaking very highly of that drug. And just to add there was another suspicious fire. I don't know if you saw the article on Zero Hedge. Apparently a factory in Taiwan that produces precursors for hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah,
burned down.
The largest producer of hydroxychloroquine, that one burned down. Yeah, very suspicious.
Yeah, so it's fun. I hate to keep getting into these internecine battles, but I have to once again come to Mark's defense. He's merely stating his opinion on Trump. He's saying, look, I mean, Trump is a seriously flawed candidate, flawed president. Yes. And yes, he is better. He's far better than Biden and Harris. But we are permitted, there is a First Amendment, we are permitted to criticize Trump for his faults. Yes. And that's all that Mark's doing. And he's exactly right. I think Trump, he's too much of a Zionist. He's been pushing this warp speed vaccine. And then the latest pardons. He pardoned that gangster Kushner, the father. Yep. And he also pardoned, I believe he pardoned those soldiers who killed those Iraqi civilians.
Yes.
That was a monstrous decision. I mean, anybody would be correct in criticizing Trump for that. So, as Mark said, those three amigos, they can't be just. They become almost blind followers, cultists of Trump, just like the followers of Hillary were in 2016.
And the followers of Biden
that's all Mark's doing. What's that?
I said the followers of Biden are the same way.
Right, same way. And I just want to say I agree with Mark on the cell phone. Yeah, when I go out, I leave my cell phone in my car. I don't take it inside with me wherever I go. So they're not gonna track and trace me.
Okay.
And yeah, I would urge everybody take your vitamin C, your vitamin D3, your zinc, exercise at least an hour a day, eat healthy. No worries at all. You won't have to take this toxic vaccine. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot here, and the lines are now completely open. Area code 512-248-8252. Okay, now Bill Gates, he's accused of having a savior complex. He wants to save the world through vaccinations and so forth, and he's just come a long way since Windows Millennium Edition here. Apparently, he is funding a plan to dim the sun to stop global warming. And apparently the plan is that they're going to spray the atmosphere with these very reflective particles that will reflect sunlight back out into space. There's a natural counterpart for those. They're called clouds. And but apparently Bill Gates is throwing his money at that one. And it kind of reminds me of part of the backstory of The Matrix, where they black out the sky to deprive the computers of electricity, at which point the computers enslave the human race as a new power source here. So it's apparently Bill Gates is actually getting into geoengineering and wants to start messing around with our sky. Anyway, now do you remember back in 2018, Elon Musk demonstrated the Falcon Heavy launch system with a test flight that had as a payload Musk's personal 2008 Tesla Roadster, along with a spacesuit-clad mannequin called Starman in the driver's seat. This was sort of an homage to the Heavy Metal movie and to the magazine, which featured a spacesuited person in a sports car landing down on Earth. Well, apparently now Starman and his cherry red car have made it all the way to Mars. Now, it may not look the same as when it was launched because neither the mannequin nor the car are really built to survive in outer space, but apparently it made it all the way out there, and it's another feather in Elon Musk's cap. Okay, now we have another caller on the line. Let's go to Laura in Colorado. Hello, Laura. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to chime in on the COVID-19 supposed drug that would help called ivermectin.
Yes.
Ivermectin is what they give horses. And you can go into any veterinary supply place and just buy it right off the shelf. It comes in great big syringes. And they give it to horses to kill parasites in the horse's gut. The first time that I became familiar with the product was when one of my cats had Giardia. And I was told, well, you know, by a good friend of mine in the know, that run down and get some of that ivermectin and just give them one tiny drop out of a huge syringe, because it's, you know, you kind of measure it by weight.
Yes.
With horses, it's how many hundreds of pounds they weigh as to how much of it you actually shoot in their mouth. So I did a bunch of research on it. Ivermectin is actually a poison. So after that, I found out that I could give my animals diatomaceous earth, and I do live on a farm. And I can give all of my animals, including me, diatomaceous earth, and it will get rid of all the parasites out of the gut without giving animals a dangerous poison, which ivermectin is. Now, if ivermectin is a poison for animals, and it's also a poison for people.
Yeah, but if it's not killing the horses, I mean, it may be toxic, but a lot of medicines are actually controlled poisons. I mean, that's the whole theory behind chemotherapy for cancer. All of those chemicals are poisonous, but the idea is that you get just enough to poison the cancer, but not really kill off the person, although it certainly debilitates them.
Well, there's been a lot of people killed by chemotherapy and radiation, and that's a big moneymaker. There are also alternative, things, but the HCG, I hope I said that right. Maybe it's HCG. I don't. Anyway, the hydrochlorothane. I can't even say the word. I know it well. There you go. That's not hard to come by, and it's very effective. Anything that would treat malaria is very effective. And I've got MMS over here at my house. I know that's a huge controversy, but we have used MMS at my home for several reasons, given it to animals, given it to ourselves. Never had any problem whatsoever with that in very small quantities. So, the Jim Humble type of thing, for those that know who that is, he treated a tremendous amount of people in Africa with MMS and got them over malaria. So, just about anything I think that would work for malaria would probably work for this COVID-19.
Tonic water with quinine.
I'm just one of those folks. Well, and you know what I've got over here in my preps? I was down at my local grocery store, and they had a 12-pack of tonic water that had stevia in it instead of sugar, and it had been damaged, and I got it for 50% off, and I grabbed that 12-pack of 12-ounce cans of tonic water, and I've got it over here in my preps. So that would be another thing that persons could use. So, I'm one of those folks, Mike, that I'm just not real apt to put a poison in my body if I can keep from it.
Okay, well, I certainly understand that.
Yeah, if there's any risk, I'm a risk analyst, and I'm just going to say, well, I think I would rather try some other things that are much less risk than ivermectin. So I'm just tossing it out there. I want everybody to get online, do your own research. Very important to do that, and look up ivermectin, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So you have a great afternoon. Thanks for taking my call, Mike.
All right, thank you for the call. Have a happy new year, and we're going to switch over to Don in Arizona. Hello, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Mike. Hello.
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 You're on the air.
As far as Mark talking about Trump. Nobody really. I'm not a Trump worshiper, but the idea was before the election he would call and trash talk Trump before the election when he might influence somebody. So why would he do that if considering Trump is the least of two evils?
Yep.
And so that's the reason we're for him, and it's better than being for the worst of two evils. So, Trump. Looking back on it now, there's a lot of bad things about him. Why did he go along with Fauci? Fauci is. One thing about Trump is he seems to play dumb a lot. I don't think he's as dumb as he acts. He's dumb about science. Yeah, I got to go along with my scientists because I don't know. I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground.
Okay.
So why did he have to be with Fauci all the time and go along with all this non-science science? Not really. And then he had his good scientists. He had that one scientist.
Hello? Don? I think we lost Don. Okay, let's switch over to Mark in Georgia. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Mark, are you there? Okay. Let's try W in Texas. Hello, W. Are you there? Okay, we seem to have developed a technical problem here. And I know my connection is still up there. Let's try Mark in Georgia again. Mark, are you there? Okay, we're good here. Mark in Georgia, are you there? Okay, we seem to be having an issue with the telephones here, so let me go back and do some other news, and hopefully we'll get the phones fixed here. Alrighty, now, as longtime listeners, readers are aware, I am not a supporter of the Big Bang Theory. And one of the things that's always a huge embarrassment is when astronomers will discover a galaxy so far away that they have to push back the origin of the universe in order to make room for it. And apparently astronomers have discovered a 13.4 billion year old galaxy in space, in deep space. And they published the research in the journal Nature Astronomy. They're calling the galaxy GNZ11. It's 13.4 billion light years away. Light year, of course, is approximately 6 trillion miles. And so, again, they're going to have to adjust the origin of the universe and everything. And again, I think the Big Bang Theory makes about as much sense as the Earth-centered cosmos that was so popular here. All righty, let's see. Are the phones back online? Is Mark in Georgia available? Okay, apparently, let's see. Keep going. All right, we may have lost RBN, so we're going to keep going for the YouTube and Ron Gibson streams here. But yeah, something happened to the RBN connection here. All righty, now a lot of people like to talk about extraterrestrial life and extraterrestrial intelligent civilizations, and certainly the universe is too vast for our planet to be the only home for a technological civilization. And then people get back to what is called the Fermi paradox, which is where he basically, Enrico Fermi said, well, you know, where are they? Where is everybody if there are aliens out there? But the reality is that the cost of visiting Earth may simply be too astronomical for aliens to undertake. Now, I know there's a lot of science fiction movies about faster than light travel. There are some theories about it, but so far, no real evidence to suggest that the speed of light can be exceeded outside of the quantum level. And so as a result, we're talking about, you know, huge amounts of time for interstellar travel. We're talking about extraordinary expenditures of energy to do that. And again, our planet may simply not be worth the trouble, is really what it comes down to. Okay, now, down near Antarctica, they're still talking about the world's largest free-floating iceberg. It's called A68A. It's starting to break apart as it drifts towards the South Georgia island. This iceberg is the size of Delaware, and they're very concerned that it can block shipping lanes. It could stop seals and penguins from getting food. But, you know, this is just nature. If you look at Antarctica, big chunks of ice break off from it all the time. And this one's a little bit larger. The global warming people are out there saying, see. And apparently, you know, they're out there saying this is proof of global warming, even as we have another hard winter settle in over the northern hemisphere. Now, this next story is going to get some of the ET people a little bit excited. And apparently, down in Australia, they have the Parkes Radio Telescope. And there was actually a movie made about the Apollo landing that centered on the role played by the Parkes telescope, which captured and relayed the video from Apollo 11 to the rest of the world here. But they're involved now with a search called the Breakthrough Listen Project. and they are basically, they have found a radio signal coming from Proxima Centauri, the star nearest to our own. Okay. Oh, they lost power. Okay, let's take a phone call here. Mark in Georgia. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, okay. You may remember I mentioned before the Dr. Mercola, which to me, I have yet to hear him say anything that has found to be false, but he recommends quercetin. It's called an ionophore, and what it does is it helps zinc get where it needs to be within the cell.
Yep.
Sorry? Quercetin. Quercetin.
Yes.
And I grant you, I'd recommend something other than Amazon because they made out like bandits through this whole unimaginable crime against humanity. But the thing is, I got a 6-month supply for $25, had it in 2 days. And the thing I like about quercetin, I don't need permission from a doctor to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people wearing masks, and I'm like, I tell you, when I see parents or like moms who have their children wearing masks at the grocery store, I'm like, you people, you ought to know that that children wearing masks is going to cause brain damage.
Yes.
Or could cause brain damage.
I've heard that.
Impairing brain development. But, the thing is, it's like these people who don't agree with us, it's not an issue of intellect, it's an issue of mindset. Because there are people who just don't get it. There is a satanic conspiracy to bring about a counterfeit one world government. I understand you have may have a difference of views, but the thing is that satanic conspiracy uses terms like conspiracy theory to discredit in the eyes of people who aren't really thinking for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I commend your that Ukrainian information. You're waiting to authenticate that that's a legitimate translation from the Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that because you're saying here's something that is, if this vets out properly, it could be quite devastating. But that's the thing is, it's got to be vetted out before you give it an
it could be a setup. Yeah, it could be a setup.
Yeah, exactly. So I do appreciate it, but yeah, make note of quercetin, and I just recommend get it from. I'm not saying that my complaint with Amazon is not their service. My complaint is how they have made how Bezos is tax free. So if there's a way you can get the same thing through somebody local, or you're supporting a local economy, even better. Okay? Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, thank you for the phone call. Have a happy new year. Is W in Texas still on the line here? W, are you there? No, W. All right. Well, we're almost to the end of the show anyway here. And again, I was talking about Barstool Sports has raised over $6 million to keep small businesses open. And I think that's a good thing where we're learning to rely on ourselves and take care of each other rather than waiting for this corrupted, paralyzed, pointless government to do it for us. I really do think that. Okay, we should be getting our closeout music here any time now. So please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I understand that Steve Elkins will be joining him on the microphone tonight. Please spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Please spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. It is critical at this time here. Have a good evening. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.